Is increasing access to driver's licenses tied to increased anti-fraud security measures is good for public safety and good for Homeland Security. The facts are undeniably clear. The fact that unlicensed drivers contribute to 5 times as many deadly accidents as licensed drivers. It is unlicensed drivers, not immigrants, that are a threat to public safety. The fact that we must take steps to increase the security of our licenses. And the fact that bringing people out of the shadows and into the system will create records that will help law enforcement solve and prevent crimes, including terrorism. Unfortunately, ignoring this public safety rationale, partisans quickly seized on our policy change. They equated immigrants to terrorists. And with this horrendous and unsubstantiated connection made, they brought in the tragedy of 9/11 for good measure. As we have seen, 9/11 has been the excuse for so much bad policy. Yet some have called on it one more time to strike fear in the public consciousness. In an instant, they took a common-sense public safety measure and worked it completely. And if they're going to bring 9/11 into this, they should at least get their facts straight. The 9/11 Commission concluded that an immigration status requirement for licenses would not have prevented the 9/11 attacks. In fact, 4 of the 5 states that issued the terrorists' licenses and identity documents had immigration status requirements at the time. Moreover, in their long list of recommendations to make licenses more secure, the 9/11 Commission specifically did not recommend that states impose restrictions based on immigration status. What the 9/11 Commission did recommend was a series of steps to strengthen the security of the license system, many of which we are implementing as part of this policy change. Let me describe some of these steps. Undocumented immigrants will not be able to get a license in the over-the-counter manner that lawful residents currently go through. Instead, they will submit 6 points of identification to a central document verification unit in DMV, the first of its kind in the nation, where specially trained staff will verify their validity. We will require all undocumented immigrants to present a current and valid foreign passport with photo identification, passports that can be scanned and verified using new, state-of-the-art document scanning machines. And DMV will implement a new photo comparison technology that will compare the photograph of every applicant against the database of photographs in the current system to make sure an applicant is not able to get more than 1 license. Taken together, this new regime of anti-fraud security measures will make New York State's licensing process the most secure in the nation. What some also ignore is that Homeland Security will be strengthened as we bring people out of the shadows and into the system. A chance to bring an entire population of people into a database that, when necessary, can be used to help law enforcement agencies track down criminals, including terrorists. In fact, law enforcement agencies were able to use the information from the driver's licenses of the 9/11 terrorists to figure out where they had been, how they had moved around, and who had helped them. Now, reasonable people disagree about what security measures need to be taken and how they should be implemented. In fact, we are working with Mayor Bloomberg and his administration to address any concerns they may have. That type of discussion on the substance is productive. What deserves to be condemned are the hysterical allegations that have no basis in fact and are only intended to prey upon the public's fears. For example, in addition to shouting terrorism and another 9/11, these opponents also claim that expanding driver's licenses to undocumented immigrants will now enable them to vote. This is plainly false. Undocumented immigrants will still not be U.S. citizens, and only U.S. citizens are able to vote. Just as before, the only way your license factors into the equation is to prove your identity, not your citizenship. They have claimed that you and I will now not be able to use our driver's licenses at airports. Wrong again. In fact, you and I could go to LaGuardia right now and use the very license in our pockets. Only in May of 2013, when the federal government imposes the travel restrictions of the Real ID Act, where residents all across the country have to get new, federally approved licenses. And remember, that was the reality before we made these changes. At the end of the day, we are not talking about letting more people into this country. We are talking about being practical and moral about those who are already here. Until the federal government fixes our immigration system, we have to deal with the reality that up to 1 million undocumented immigrants live in New York. And they're not going away simply because they can't get a driver's license, health care, or access to emergency medicine like chemotherapy. We don't have the luxury of ignoring reality. We can't ignore the reality that when hundreds of thousands of people don't have a driver's license, it puts everyone in danger. We can't ignore the reality that when hundreds of thousands of people live in the shadows, it makes the public less safe and law enforcement's job much harder. And finally, we can't ignore the reality that when hundreds of thousands of people don't have a driver's license, they suffer, and we, as a society, suffer. We can do better, and we will do better for our immigrant friends and neighbors.
We would like to extend our invitation for you to visit Canada.
I have many times, and I will again shortly. But thank you. Thank you so much.
This is Mr. Pauli.
Thank you.
I saw you at the campaign office more often.
Yes.
Thanks for signing the maximum shelter allowance.
Well,
Great for us.
we're trying. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Let me sneak in here for a second.
Policy proposal on licenses. Did you expect it?
I think others had said to me, gee, you can expect rather significant pushback, and so I expected there to be some overheated rhetoric. Has it been more than might have been expected? Maybe yes, maybe no, but frankly it didn't factor into a policy shift that I thought was right at every level. It's right morally, it's right ethically, it is right in terms of the economy of the city and the state. It is right in terms of understanding what our economy has been all about for over 200 years. And it is right, perhaps most importantly, to respond directly to the critique from a public safety perspective. And it is crystal clear to me that we do better from a safety perspective to know who is driving, to give individuals accurate IDs based upon a genuine capacity to identify who they are based upon a foreign passport, than to push individuals into a context where we almost beg them to forge Social Security numbers and come up with fake IDs, which is the environment that folks are living in now. So as a pure matter of public safety, this is right. Most who have looked at this issue have come to that conclusion. I'm firmly of that view, and also believe, of course, that it's right morally and ethically in terms of the immigrant community.
Governor, last month you said, Governor, that